Daniel Kreeger joins me now from Hollywood, Florida. He's the executive director and co-founder of the Association of Climate Change Officers. Daniel, we heard earlier about what's happening out in California. I spoke to my sister on the phone yesterday, and the road leading to her house wiped out by flooding. She was able to get to her son's home today, but we're seeing enormous devastation out there in California. We heard the NOAA administrator and Jim Story saying, buckle up, there's more to come. What do you foresee in the future as we continue to see climate change creating these problems?
Yeah, well, so what climate change is doing is it's almost like tilting the pinball table. We are tilting the odds and creating a system that is more likely to see greater extremes and more frequent examples of those extremes. So it's not just that it's getting hotter on average. We're going to see more intense rainfall when we see it. We're going to see more intense droughts when we see those. We're seeing more extreme heat when we see those. And we're also seeing a lot of volatility in the climate system.
And Daniel, we just heard in Jim's report that there were 18 separate disasters last year. The price tag more than $1 billion. The president's 2023 budget includes about $45 billion aimed at combating climate change. Is that enough?
Well, the answer is we haven't had enough money to put into this for years. The Government Accountability Office has been assessing the National Flood Insurance Program and the liability that we have there, especially as the special flood hazard areas are increasing over time due to sea level rise and this increased precipitation and our increased exposure, or more people in harm's way, if you will. There's not enough dollars here to just try and adapt to and be resilient to this. We have got to put all in on slowing this thing down and adapting and being resilient, and we got to get to work on it now.
And it's not just the United States. Obviously, this is a global issue. Sharm el-Sheikh, we know that COP meeting just happened not that long ago, and we also saw another event up in Canada recently as well. Are we seeing any headway and kind of the pledges being made? And is it enough to make the pledges? I mean, it's one thing to say I've got this goal, but are they hitting them?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, we've done analytics on the pledges, and the pledges aren't enough. And even if the pledges were enough, what we're also seeing is the implementation and the follow through on the pledges isn't there. It's not clear to me why it is that an entity, whether government or private sector, would make commitments to do things and then not follow through, given the severity and the magnitude of what we're dealing with here. But we are absolutely running out of time if we want to have the kind of stable climate, safe, healthy, and prosperous communities that we want to have.
And we just went through a midterm election here in the United States, and I heard last year from a climate activist saying, look, we got to make this a much more important issue at the ballot box. Why do you think it isn't?
Well, I think in a lot of places, people have a hard time understanding climate change. It is the ultimate systems challenge. It affects me differently in South Florida than it does folks in Nevada or in different parts of Asia or Africa. These extreme events, even that we're talking about, hit different continents in different frequency and magnitude and form. And so it's not the same for everyone. Gravity is the same for everyone. We can all understand what it is. This is more complicated. It really requires us to evaluate how change affects us, but then have a common understanding of how it affects others.
Daniel Kreeger, thanks so much for your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.